Give the Drummer Some is sponsored by Supernova Drum Company. Bespoke drums made with unique shell combinations using many different species of wood. Supernova Drum Company, truly custom drums. Visit supernovadrums.com and facebook.com/supernovadrumco for more details.
Give the drummer some.
Give the drummer some.
Dig that crazy rhythm.
It's nice to see you back in the old groove again, Daddy. Give the drummer some.
14 mounted toms, 8 floor toms, 4 splashes, 2 gongs, 10 cowbells, 4 rides, 5 snares, man. A roto-tom rack.
And it's all mounted on my infamous quadruple kick drum system.
Hey! You didn't touch my drum set! Hey, knock it off!
See, one thing I was really surprised about is the Dream Theater drummer auditions. I was really surprised not to see you on the video.
I was asked to do that, actually.
Right.
I got called from the management. It was October. I remember this. It was October 2010.
Right.
I was on the road with Halford, and I remember thinking, I knew they were going to do that. They were going to make calls to people, and I told some friends of mine, I said, I hope they don't call me for this. And the reason I just said that is because I didn't know what my reaction would be, for one. And it was kind of crazy that Portnoy was out of the band. So I got the call for it. And their management called me. And I initially said I'd have to think about it. And I remember I think it's Frankie Solomon, their manager, said, "What do you mean you have to think about it?" And I was like, well, I don't know. You know, it's a big sort of commitment. It's a huge, sort of, it's a commitment. I guess as just as a person, as a musician or whatever, and then just I mean all the way, as far as. I'm sure, what am I trying to say? It's just a commitment all the way around,
Sure.
So I thought about it, and I said, well, I have to think about it. And he told me, he said, well, we called 7 or 8 guys. You're the only guy that so far has said that he has to think about it. So I was on the road with Halford, as I mentioned, and I said that, well, when are you doing auditions? And then there was like a 10-day window when I was coming home from when we were doing U.S. to Japan or South America or whatever. And I said, I'm not even home when you're going to do these auditions. Right. And they said, well, we would get back together again and reschedule, and, make it special session, I guess, if you wanted to do it at another time. And I said, I have 10 days. I said, send me the songs. So then they send me 3 songs, and it's like 29 minutes worth of music, and I'm thinking, God, that's a lot of music to learn for an audition. And I totally understand it,
Yeah.
because they need to know, and they need to give the guy as much stuff as possible. So I checked it out, and I was like, I don't even have time to learn this. I'm going to have 10 days when I get home. And then I would have to have everybody wait for 2 months for me to get back. And then I thought, well, what's even going on here? Is Mike in the band? Is Mike out completely? And I thought to myself, surely he's going to be back in the band at some point. Yeah. I mean, I guess, judging from what has happened in the sort of in the media with the whole thing and stuff, I don't want to add to anything that has been said or whatever, but sure. I guess, Mangini that's his gig, and maybe it will always be his gig. I don't know. Yeah. But I had thought at the time when I saw this, I thought they're going to get it resolved. I said, I'm going to learn these songs. I was playing with Halford. I had worked with Sebastian. I had worked with Fates Warning. I said, there's no way that Mike Portnoy is not going to be back in the band. So after all this stuff, I just looked at the whole thing and I said, it's not my gig. It's not my gig to be had. And the one thing, though, that I was curious, and I had talked to some of my friends, musicians, and I knew some of the guys that were up for the audition, and so I was really curious. And as it turns out, I was really glad that Mike Mangini got the gig, because I thought he was the right, perfect fit. He comes from a rock background. He understood initially what the band wanted out of a drummer, to play the parts the way Mike Portnoy played the parts, and to give the band that sort of heavy feel that they needed, along with the progressive feel. And that's some things that I think I could have done and been part of that. But I think Mangini he had so much more to offer than I could on other levels as a musician. So I thought he was the perfect fit, and it would have bothered me, I think, maybe if one of the other guys would have gotten the gig that I didn't think were perfectly suited for the band.
Right.
That might seem kind of weird, because it's not my place to say,
Sure.
whether I have an opinion about it, because, it doesn't matter what I think. But I was kind of glad to see that, because Mike Mangini's such a cool dude as a person, a great drummer musician. So I was really glad to see that, and I think it all worked out for the best. But it was very strange that I did get asked and I turned it down, and even to audition. So it all worked out.
I would have really liked to have seen Marco perhaps hear a new track with him on the drums, because I think he did a really, really good job in the audition. But I think you're right. I think Mike Mangini was the right guy for the job.
I think he was just the right guy, because I think he approaches music the way those guys do, and just his background. I mean, I think that's so important. I hear it, and I can hear a lot of the guys and know exactly what their what the background is and where they're playing and how they're approaching sort of things. I just think that Mangini has the right sort of mindset for it. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I mean, I've heard some drummers that I think that are technically great drummers, but I can hear them play on a record, and it would be the same thing for me as if I tried to play something that was really jazzy, that was out of my sort of element, that was in jazz or Latin or any of the styles that I didn't really grow up and love playing. I'm not gonna sell that well. Maybe to somebody that's not a really educated listener and a really educated drummer, maybe I would sell that to, and they would believe that I'm doing with it and that I'm, playing the music correctly. But to the guys that really know, it's not exactly right. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right, And I think that some of those guys that auditioned, which are great drummers, I just, it just wouldn't have been right. It wouldn't have, on certain levels, it would have been a little weird, I think.
Yeah.
So